Sometimes, if you kind of, there was all kind of. What was really going on, from what I was told, it was just a negotiation. There were no hard feelings. You know, people brought up Vegas. You were in Vegas, but you didn't come sit by your teammates. Yep. And what was that whole ordeal like? And did you sit back and kind of see the humor and all the stuff that was floating around, whether it's true or not true?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you hit kind of free agency, restricted, unrestricted, rumors will start to circulate. And for me, you know, I let my management and agent handle that side of the things with the front office here. So I tried to stay out of it. When there was something to know, you know, I knew, you know, my agent would tell me. But other than that, you know, there was never any bad feelings. It's a negotiation. It's how it goes, not just for me, but for every free agent. It's kind of the nature of the business. And finishing the season, I knew that was what was going to happen. It was a negotiation. It's how business works. So never any hard feelings. Obviously, this is where I wanted to be. Very happy to be locked in for another 4 years, and I'm glad that the deal got done.
Was this summer a kind of hint that the days of restricted free agency is going to be way different than we've known it from a year or two previously, and even before that, where because of the second apron, because of cap, being restricted free agent isn't as fun as it used to be?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess obviously with the cap space and the apron stuff, it changes things. But I knew that, you know, coming out of the fourth year. But as I said, you know, I understand the stuff's a negotiations, a business, it's how it works. And, you know, I was always pretty confident the deal was going to get done. Obviously, the number and the years, that thing just takes time. And it's a kind of a thing from both parties that they have to come to an agreement on. And we did. But, you know, as you said, obviously being restricted this year was a little different to other years probably. But, you know, this was my year. I had to deal with it. So, you know, I dealt with what came with it. And I'm glad we got a deal done.
Josh, like you said, you kind of expected negotiations. I think you knew what that was kind of going to look like as soon as Sam traded you. Like, I guess now that it's over, playing through a contract year, everything, how would you describe the process? What did you learn about yourself, if anything?
Yeah, it's a weird feeling playing. Obviously, playing your third season, you know you're extension eligible after that year. But then playing in your fourth year, you kind of know that it's going to happen at the end of the fourth year. And it is a weird feeling because you try not to think about it, but you wouldn't be human if you didn't, because it's obviously, you know, everyone wants to play for that second contract. It's part of being an NBA player. You want to extend your career, and I was no different. But the fact that that's over now, I've got 4 years locked in. I don't have to think about it. Is a pretty big, you know, weight off my shoulders. Because as I said, my third, fourth year, it wasn't at the forefront of my mind, but it's always kind of lingering. And you understand, you know, you start to play bad, it creeps into your mind, you know, I'm extension eligible at the end of the season, you know, what's going to happen. But I think I did a good job in the second half of last year, just playing it out, just playing basketball. That wasn't at the, you know, in the forefront of my mind at all. And I knew at the end of the season it was going to be negotiated. And I'm glad, as I said to Joe, I'm glad it got done. And I could put it behind me now, 4 years locked in, and I can just focus on playing basketball.
Did you ever have any concern or uncertainty that you weren't going to be coming back here? And you mentioned that this was your ideal destination. What made this your ideal kind of landing spot?
No, I never had any worries I wasn't going to be here. And as I said, you know, this was where I wanted to be. They embraced me from day one when I first got here. Teammates, front office, the fans, and it felt like home really quickly. And obviously, what we did last year, particularly in the back half of the year, gave me a lot of confidence that this team was able to continue to take steps in the right direction. So I built really good relationships with people, not only in the organization, but outside of the building, in the city, and I felt like home quickly. So as I said, you know, right from the jump, you know, I made sure my agent knew this is where I wanted to be. I want to be here long term, and they got a deal done, you know, to represent that. So very happy to be here. It's where I wanted to be, and I'm glad we got it done.
Hey Josh, Zachary Draves from Clutch Points. You said, you know, weight has been lifted off your shoulders now that you got the deal done, you're entering the season. At the same time, you know, obviously there's going to be a lot of focus on you about living up to expectations and so forth. How do you manage that, and how do you focus on the task at hand, knowing that you got everybody watching you because of the deal?
Yeah, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the way I play or go about my business. You know, I guess being a high draft pick, the expectations are kind of always there, and it's been like that since I was a rookie. So it's nothing new. And you know, signing a new contract, it doesn't change anything for me. You know, there's always expectations when you're in the NBA, especially when you play for a big market team like this. Expectations are always high, and as players, it's our job to go out there, perform, and try to meet them. And obviously, everyone has high expectations of themselves as players, and we do as a team as well. So we take it game by game, and when you look back after 82 games, individually and as a team, you see where you are. But I try not to look too far ahead. I try to take it one game at a time, and you go from there.
Sam Smith, Bulls.com. Do you feel like this, you've addressed some of it obliquely, but this is kind of your first chance to really show who you are and the kind of player, because of competing for time, playing, money, and that thing. And then you come here and you've got, Zach and his, trying to be deferential. I feel like this is the first time where you could really step forward and sort of be aggressive and show who you are and sort of take a leadership role like that?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the leadership role more specifically, that's something I want to try to dive into more. And, some leaders, everyone leads differently. Some guys are loud, vocal guys. Some guys lead by example. And I think I'm just naturally more of a reserved guy. And I'm not a big, yeller, screamer type of leader. But I think taking a step in that role, using my voice more, especially as a point guard, it's you kind of have to be vocal. And I feel like on the floor I am, but away from the floor, in timeouts, in huddles, at halftime, the breaks, like I can be more of a leader in those types of things. But that's probably the big area for me that I want to continue to grow in. And as I said, being a point guard, you kind of want to be an extension of Billy, on the floor. And I have a great relationship with him, so we're constantly talking and being on the same page. But to your question, I mean, in Oklahoma, it was I usually said a different situation because a lot of young guys, it was we went from the worst team in the league to the best team in the league very quickly. So roles shifted and adjusted. But when I got here, I think, early days, I was trying to find my feet. I was probably trying to fit in a little too much. And then back half of the year, I started to, get aggressive and kind of get back to who I am as a player. And I tried to do it without taking anything away from the team. I tried to, dive into the team as much as I could. And I felt like that really helped me in the back half of the year. So going into this year, that's kind of where my mindset's at. It's not about me at all. It's not about me trying to go out there and prove that, I'm worth this or I'm this type of player or anything. It's about how can I, as the point guard, continue to push this team in the right direction, and I'm a part of it. But there's 14 other parts of it as well. So it's a whole effort. It's a team effort, and naturally as a point guard, you have a lot of responsibility on your plate. But I'm more than willing to take that on and try to be the leader, for this group.
I want to follow up on that a little bit. I get, the point guard, and you have to be, unselfish player, have to get everybody involved. But one question that comes up about the Bulls is who's going to be this star, who's going to emerge from the group, maybe Kobe, and not to hold you to those last 15 or 20 games where you're averaging basically a triple-double, but do you feel like that you're now in a position maybe that you can take that step and be this all-star and be that kind of player, especially with, some of the players in the East not playing this year and, step forward because it would mean so much to the team to have an all-star?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, the individual accolades come with team success. And, winning, not just me, but everyone is involved in it. And I think when you can win games, the individual stuff comes as a byproduct of it. But I never go into a season, predetermining what I want to do or what I want to average or what I want to get out of the season. It comes game by game. And if you try to look too far ahead, that's where you start to run into some problems. And as I said earlier, I've always been a kind of one game at a time player, and I've had to develop that mindset because it's not easy. You can have bad games and you start to get into this, mental battle with yourself, but it can be the vice versa where you're having great games and you look too far ahead to all these accolades that are possible. So for me, all-star, all those things, that will happen in time, and I'm not saying that's going to be this year, next year, in 5 years, but it might never happen. But, I think part of being a player is continuing to grow and take steps in the right direction. So whatever that looked like for me after 82 games, it looks like. And I never sit here, trying to look 3-4 months ahead. This could be this. So one game at a time for me, one practice at a time, and, we'll see where we end up.
Congrats on the deal, Josh. I'm curious, now that you kind of are locked in as sort of like point guard of the future, like you're saying, you have this full runway to be kind of the player that you are. What are some of the areas that you feel like are most important to either add or improve on in your game so that you can continue to take steps forward?
I think leadership was the big one. That's obviously on-court and off-court skill, but just continuing to use my voice, continuing to push guys, continuing to make others around me better. I think shooting the ball from an on-court perspective is the big one. You can never get too good at that. So continuing to continue to get reps in, stay locked in on that. Defensively, I think was a big area of improvement for me last year, and it was a slow kind of burn, and I wanted to keep getting better at it. And I think back half of the year when I got those roles of guarding other teams' better players, it keeps me a lot more engaged on that side of the ball. And that's not to say when you're not on the best players, you're not engaged, but just guarding those guys, it kind of gives me a sense of, a different level of intensity on the defensive end of the floor, because you know that you got on these primary guys, and that's kind of the key to the other team's success. So, the back half of the year, I thought the defensive side for me picked up a lot, and it wasn't always perfect. There was games where we played in LA and I was guarding Luka and he had 30 in the first half. So there's experiences where you grow, and it's not always positive growth. It can be, what did I do wrong here to let a guy get off the hook? And defensively, not just for me, but as a team, it's kind of where we need to hang our hats. We don't have, some teams have these elite, big versatile defenders. We have to do it by committee, and it has to be a five-man defensive unit on the floor. So for me, I want to continue to take steps in that area, but I think we as a whole need to, and we will, go into this year.
Arturis was just in here talking about feeling like you guys lacked the physicality to compete in the play-in, and that he brought Isaac in to sort of cultivate toughness. What do you remember about that feeling and the play-in sort of lacking that physicality and toughness? And I guess what's the front office's message to you and your role in that moving forward?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I mean, physicality is a big part of the NBA, and we kind of saw it in that playing game. Miami was ready to go, and they brought it to us, and we're kind of on the back foot from the jump. So I guess physicality, Isaac obviously adds to that a lot, but it has to be, and it's not about, hitting blokes or nothing like, it's just about it. And physicality, you can, comes in many different ways, but for us, as I said, it has to be a five-man effort, and if, one guy's guarding the ball, he knows he's got four guys behind him protecting him. So we have to be the ones to throw the first punch, out of the gates and get other teams on the back foot and get the game on our terms. So whatever that looks like on the night, it's going to be different. But physicality is a thing that, regardless of what's happening on the floor, everyone can bring it. So it has to be a collective effort. And then if it is, I think we'll put ourselves in good stead, going into the year.
Hi, Josh. I'm Mieko from Japan, Amazon Japan. Yeah. What do you think of Yuki? Please tell us a unique story about the Yuki that you know.
Yeah, he's been great. We played against him when I was at the World Cup in Japan, actually. So first time I ever saw him play, and an electric player, and crowd favorite over there as well. He got the crowd into it. And I think same in America when he's over here. The crowd love him, the fans love him. His style of play is very contagious, and I saw it the other day we were playing at practice, and he's picking up full court. He makes very tough shots. He makes other players around him better. So obviously a very unique player with his size, but very, very well deserved to be an NBA player. He's earned his spot here, and I think he's shown over a number of years that he belongs in this league. And as I said, I had a lot of fun playing against him, and it's going to be a lot of fun being his teammate as well. And off the court as well, awesome guy. I think all the guys love him and would say the same thing. So he's been awesome to be around. Thanks, guys.